Hello and welcome to the Games4all podcast, episode 8. I'm your host Dan Young, and with me as always is my good friend
James Craigie. Welcome to the show.
Okay, so I've been busy playing some games this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute. We've got a reasonably good show lined up. We've got a little bit of a new feature at the end as well, which we'll talk about when we get around to it. Let's not give too much away about it yet. So what we've been playing, you can start.
Played a bit of Crackdown 2. Not finished it yet.
Okay, anything else?
No.
That's literally it.
No. Oh, well.
Well, there is another game, but we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. As there's not a lot coming out at the moment, I've been going back over some old games. Game that came out at the beginning of the year, Darksiders. Picked up and working my way through that.
Cool.
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what it is, just briefly explain.
It's basically Zelda with demons.
Alright, okay.
That's pretty much it.
And
Mark Hamill.
Okay. What game isn't he in? So.
Well.
Okay, so I've been kind of busy. I've been doing the same sort of thing as you, actually, because obviously we've hit a sort of lull in the year. You've got that space in the year where there's not a lot being released. So I've been going over some old games that I haven't actually finished yet or haven't even got around to playing yet. And last week I was talking about starting Bioshock 2.
Yep.
I've finished it.
Hey.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Bioshock 2.
Okay. Was the story as good as the first one?
No, but it comes close.
Okay.
It comes close. We explained last week, I'm a big fan of the original Bioshock, and there's not many people who aren't, people who've played it that aren't. And yeah, I mean, I think I was one of those sceptical people who, when this sequel was announced, I really kind of...
just the first one seemed so perfect. Why risk ruining it?
Exactly, that's exactly how I felt. And
yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons I may have put off playing this. But I held off from like reading any reviews or anything like that about it. I just wanted to get on with it and play it, right?
Very disciplined of you.
Well, yeah, that's pretty good of me. And so I did that recently, like this last week. And yeah, it's really, really good. A lot shorter. In fact, the point that I mentioned I was at last week, I was probably pretty close to the end of the game. I thought I was only a couple of hours into it. I was probably more like 4-5 hours into it.
Yeah.
I think this game is about 6 to 8 hours long. It's like standard shooter length.
Okay.
Really short. Whereas the original Bioshock was more like 14 hours, averagely. I think if you tried doing absolutely everything, it'd take you about 22 hours. I think that's what I worked it out to. But so a lot shorter. Probably a good thing, because they've just kept all goodness in there. They've not strung it out. It doesn't outstate its welcome. All the anything they've done to better this game has actually worked, in my opinion.
That's good.
There's so many new, fresh ideas like they've added to a game that had some pretty creative ideas in the first place. Overall, it's just extremely good, and I think, I mean, I like to think it'd be a contender for Game of the Year, but I can't see it happening because there's a lot. Because it came out fairly early on, it'll get forgotten. But like, it's up there so far with what I've played this year. It is very close to the top, and yeah, I really like it. For anyone who's played the first Bioshock and absolutely loved it, but has held off from playing this one, don't fucking get that shit. And you can buy it cheap now. You can get it for under £20 online, and I recommend getting it because it's such a good game.
I think I'm going to have to get.
Anything wrong with it?
I think I'm going to have to get the first and second one at some point.
I recommend it. Seriously,
still
so
not
good.
Finished the first one. I mean, I know what happens. I know the story. That's probably spoilt it a bit, but
yeah,
I still like to play it.
But these games are just so well executed, and the stories are good, and it's the way it's told to you, and the overall presentation. There's so much good stuff going on in these games. So I recommend Bioshock 2 to anyone. I actually think it's totally surprised me.
Awesome.
That's how good it is. Not as good as the first, but still very, very, very good. Very close.
That's a good review for the case right there.
Yeah, it's a shame it's already out.
Oh, I know. What else have you been playing?
Well, I mentioned a while back that I'd started playing Alan Wake.
Yeah.
I've now finished Alan Wake.
Blimey.
So
you have been busy. That's 2 fanfares.
It is 2 fanfares, absolutely. So cue second fanfare. Yeah, pretty much. Played through Alan Wake. That game is kind of almost the opposite in some ways to Bioshock 2, in that it is fucking long. It seems long. There's 6 episodes it's split up into, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the last 2 episodes fucking drag really big time. They drag out, and you get to the point where you think, okay, I'm at the end of this, I'm at the end of this, and it just keeps going and going and going.
Oh.
And some of it's kind of frustrating. Like, it's very survival horror-ish in the way that you have very limited ammo, you have very limited this, that and the other. You can't really outrun stuff that's after you. You can hold it off, but you can't really outrun it. You find yourself really, really confined, and just sometimes you just can't. It takes a lot to get through a certain section of the game.
Yeah.
Which is good that it's challenging, but at the same time,
you kind of balance that with frustrating as well.
It feels kind of like overkill sometimes, that they're throwing too much at you.
Yeah.
Only on a few occasions towards the end. Now, this game took about 4 years to make.
Yeah.
And like, there was a lot of hype and build up and anticipation for this to come out, and I can't help but feel that if this game hadn't had that, and if it took us completely by surprise, if this was literally announced, I don't know, 6 months before it actually came out, that I'd probably feel differently about it.
Yeah.
But because I'd already kind of seen what this game was before having played it, it's still impressive. There's still a lot of very cool stuff in this game. Graphics wise and effects wise, what they've managed to do with this game and pull off has been pretty amazing. And for the first few episodes, it is, it does really like capture your imagination and stuff. But like after a while, you just kind of, the story kind of gets a bit convoluted and just.
That is a shame.
It gets extremely surreal, which is, I would say, normally is a good thing with this type of game. It's kind of some of the inspiration has been taken from like Twin Peaks, like David Lynch type stuff. So that stuff's surreal, anyway. And I think they've tried to make it very like that, and aren't we really surreal right now? And it's very in your face surrealism, like. And
as opposed to subtle surrealism.
You know what I mean, though? It is too much in your face, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I felt myself not giving a shit, to be honest, towards the end. I honestly did. I was like, I got to a point right close to the end, I was like, I actually don't give a fuck if I finish this or not. And I was disappointed, because I was really looking forward to playing this game.
Yeah, I know. You'd been going on about it for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. And all, everything I'd seen about this game looked amazing, and then playing it, I was like so excited. The first few episodes were really good, and then towards the end, it just drags on and on and on. And I can't remember how long I've been playing it for, but like, it feels like an eternity.
Oh dear.
And it just kind of ends.
Yeah.
It has an ending, but it just kind of has an ending that's like, oh okay, that's done with then. After all that. And it just it doesn't feel like there's a big payoff, so it's kind of a bit disappointing.
Oh well,
for me anyway. So I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who absolutely love the game. I still like it. I just don't love it, and I was expecting to love it. So not really.
Still, you love Bioshock too.
Absolutely,
that's a plus.
So a game that came out today, as we were recording this, we've both played some of.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Limbo. I'll let you talk about it a little bit to start with.
Well, it's one of these games as art pieces. It reminds me a lot of Braid that came out. Can't remember if it was last year or the year before.
I think it might have been
yeah. But
year before, 2008.
it is basically it is more art. It's kind of, it reminds me of like stuff like Flashback and Another World and everything.
It's basically it's a downloadable arcade game on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
It's like a 2D platformer / puzzle game.
Yeah.
In black and white.
Yeah.
There is no colour in this game.
No, there's no colour at all.
Not that we know of anyway.
But it's just the way there's very little. There's no story either, really. Not that I can
The
discern.
basic gist of it is you play a little boy who's looking for his sister.
Yeah, but you only get that from when you download the title. That's the synopsis.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But in some way, that's good because you just kind of like drop there. It's creepy. It's dark. I think
you're doing this, but you're really not sure why.
Yeah. The mood of it is very dark and scary, and the spiders.
Some of the puzzles are awesome, though.
Yeah.
It really does. Maybe some people are like, yeah, I can do this first time, but like seriously, it makes you really think outside the box.
Yeah.
And the most obvious approach to things really aren't always are completely way off.
No, but it's fairly simple in design, but I think that's probably part of its charm.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you can just there's A button to jump and B button to do stuff,
So
and
you
you
do
just
action
move
and
left
pull
and right.
stuff, yeah.
And
And that is it.
yeah,
Very basic controls. You could play this on a NES.
yeah, but it is so engrossing. I got like really into it,
Yeah.
and no, I loved it.
It is really cool. I think the only thing that's putting me off, actually, because it's fair to admit, we only played the trial version.
Yeah,
I wanted to buy this game, but it's 1,200 points, and I think that's what's putting me off a little bit because it does seem expensive to me.
yeah,
for
it
a
is.
game. And apparently it's quite short. So.
Yeah, apparently what I've heard, it is quite short. It's
Yeah.
probably, I think, length determines on how good you are at the puzzles and how quick
yeah, of
you
course,
can
yeah.
set them out. But I'm hearing somewhere between sort of 3 and 5 hours.
Yeah.
So
okay.
for that sort of price, I did really want it, and I do really want it. But I think I might.
it's one that you'll pick up when it's cheaper. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's same here, dude.
Yeah,
So
but I think
yeah.
I strongly urge everybody to at least give it a go.
yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's kind of fun just sitting there thinking, how the fuck do I do this? And
Yeah,
you've really got to think about it, and just the most obvious ways is usually pretty much totally
yeah,
wrong.
it is just so different, so artistic,
Yeah.
and the sounds and
Yeah,
everything
there's
is-
nothing out there really quite like it,
no,
style-wise at least.
no,
Yeah, so I mean, it is one of those games I'm going to pick up later.
yeah,
Once it's cheaper, been reduced. So, but if we do get it, we'll probably talk about it at some point later.
or I might pick it up if I suddenly get handed lots of money. I might pick it up.
Yeah,
but
okay. It's not going to
no,
happen.
not anytime soon.
Okay, right then. Well, that pretty much covers our first section of the show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the latest news. Hello and welcome back to the Games4all podcast. We're going to be talking about the latest news now. We've got a few things to talk about that we've referenced in past shows.
Yeah,
This is just kind of us tying up loose ends.
yeah, quite a bit of clarification this last week.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We wanted to like go over a few things and talk about stuff and just tie up the loose ends. So we will be mentioning a few things that we may have mentioned in the past and just kind of updating the information on that.
Bear with us, it's all relevant.
Yeah, I know. Something that we spoke about on the show previously and we featured in one of our video podcasts was the Medal of Honor beta.
Yep.
And at the time that we were playing it, which was about 2-3 weeks ago,
Yep.
we were playing it on PS3 and it was also available on the PC. There's a huge delay with the 360 version. I've had my views on it. I wasn't too happy because I wanted to play it on the 360. Right, we ended up playing it on the PS3.
Yeah.
For the sake of the podcast. It's now gone live on the 360 after a 2.5 week delay.
That's not good. But apparently it's been extended, the beta time, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
everyone's beta's time has been extended, and apparently the 360 version will run even longer to make up for it. So I was excited this morning when I heard this news.
Yeah.
So excited that I got straight on the computer, straight on the website, typed in my code that I got, didn't work. So I couldn't redeem my code.
Oh.
What a load of shit.
Yeah.
So, I'm not happy.
This is your personal news.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not happy about it, so that's just me. But I haven't got to play it, but I will get to play it. I'll kick someone's ass and get a code. So that's good. That's live. If anyone has a 360, interested in the beta, try and get your hands on a code.
And if you have a working code.
Oh, yeah, that usually helps. Connect. Microsoft Connect.
Have we talked about Connect before?
I don't know. It's a pretty foreign concept on the show. Let's just briskly go over that. So, Connect's actually been officially priced, yeah?
Yay.
Now, there's rumours of prices, there was placeholder prices, and now there's the official price, which are pretty much all the same.
Right.
So what we inevitably knew was going to be the actual price has now officially been announced as the price, which is $149, which for some stupid reason converts to £129.99.
But hold on, doesn't $129.99 convert to like $196?
Pretty much. Because over here in the UK, we get stiffed regularly by just about everybody who can possibly stiff us. So it's not good, but that's how it is over here. Everything's expensive. So that's officially announced. Something we mentioned last week was the new version, a new version of the new Xbox.
The new Xbox Arcade.
Yeah, the 4 gig version has officially been announced. It's coming out next month. It has 4 gig of onboard storage, and it still contains Wi-Fi.
It still has the Wi-Fi. Excellent.
And it's £50 cheaper. So you'll be able to pick one up for £149.
That's not bad.
Retail price was basically £150. Whereas the 250 gig version is closer to £200. So
that's not bad at all.
£50 cheaper. But you trade off. The only trade off is in the amount of space and storage you've got on it.
Well, my other half might like that because she wants it. Basically, she wants the new one, but she doesn't have a lot of content or anything. Yeah. So
ideally she'd go for
the cheap one. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. So that's pretty much what we needed to talk about to kind of clarify on a few bits and pieces.
Can we put it to bed now?
Pretty much, other than the fact that there's the new arcade is actually going to be bundled with Connect as well. There's obviously not for the £150 price.
No,
more close to £250, which saves you about £30 on Connect.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
So that's pretty good. So you can buy them both together and save £30.
What games do you get with it?
Oh yeah, Connect's also been announced that you get Connect Adventures, I think it is, with it. So you get a game with it.
That's all right. That looked fairly fun.
Originally, you weren't going to get a game with it. So now, with that's a price, and it's got a game with it.
That's pretty good.
I don't think you can argue. I mean, it is expensive. It's always going to be expensive over here. It's like when Rock Band came out.
Yeah.
In the States, the equivalent, it would have cost about £80. It was like 130.
Yeah.
£140 or something. So it's like, it's the same thing over and over again. It doesn't matter what it is, we always end up paying more. So, let's, like I say, put that to rest. Let's not talk too much more about Connect.
Until we actually get it.
Yeah, because we are, well, I'm going to pre-order it and we will get it and we will do a feature video on it at some point. But anyway.
Oh, that'll be so much fun.
Yeah. So, 2 other bits of news we're going to mention. Anyone who plays Gears of War 2 will be interested in this. The other week, one of the producers of Gears of War, Rod Ferguson, announced over his Twitter account that if he can get so many more followers, he'll take that number, do a little bit of maths, I forget exactly what he said he was going to do now, divide it by such and such and times it by such and such, and that number that he would come out with would be the amount of XP you would earn this weekend while they were showing off stuff at Comic-Con.
Okay. What's the magic number?
The weekend, I'll tell you in a minute. The weekend, this extra XP weekend basically is going to be going on, is from the 22nd.
Which is hopefully when the show will be out.
The 22nd to the 25th. So if you've got Gears of War 2 and you've held off playing multiplayer, but you do want to get some extra XP, the 22nd to the 25th is when you want to play it. And just so we do mention it, it is 20 times XP. That's quite awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be playing some Gears of War 2 this weekend.
I'll be putting it back in.
Yeah, awesome.
The machine.
Awesome. So,
also, on a Gears note,
yep.
You know how in every Gears game you get a Carmine?
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to mention this. Yeah. Okay, you talk.
Well, basically, on the marketplace, they're going to give away 2 shirts, which you'll buy. The money that you spend on it will go to charity. I think it's Child's Play in America, which I think works at providing toys and games and consoles and stuff for sick kids in hospital. But it'd be either save Carmine or kill Carmine.
Yeah. And whoever gets...
whichever shirt sells the most will decide whether he lives or dies in the game.
That's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah. There's been a lot of Gears 3 news, actually, like via Twitter. A lot of shots of people recording their voiceovers and stuff.
Yeah.
Ice-T's been in the studio this week and things like that. It's not really news, but, it's all cool stuff. the last thing we're going to mention in the news section is something that's close to your heart.
Very close to my heart.
You've mentioned it a few times. There's going to be a beta for the DC Universe Online for the PS3 and PC.
Which in itself is fairly weird that there's a beta for a console as well. I've not come across it before. Most MMOs and stuff, when you get the betas for, they're usually PC exclusive.
Yeah.
The fact that this one's on PS3 as well.
It's a pretty big title though, so it is.
Yeah.
And, I can kind of see why they're doing it.
But this does mean...
to tread the water, I think, on console, really.
This does mean, as it is available on the PS3, the beta, which is what I was worried about, I can register for it. And I can hopefully get on it.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll be getting a beta code, so you'll be able to play it and talk about it. I'm also hoping that we'll be able to get a couple more, at least one or two more codes. And if we get them, we'll be able to give them away on the show.
We have been getting friends and family to register for us, so
yes,
chances of us getting some codes are pretty good, I would say.
I think they're just as slim as if we'd just done it ourselves. But hey,
yeah.
If we do get some extra spare codes, we'll give them away on the show. Sounds
excellent.
Good
Yeah.
plan. So, great news for anyone who's interested in that. You can sign up, go online, try and sign up through their website. I forget what it is now, but just Google DC Universe Online Beta. And you can just sign up for it.
You can pick whether you want to sign up for PS3 or the PC.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
just give your email address, answer a few questions, and
that's what
boom.
You've got to do. Yeah, it takes about 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, no word when the beta's going live.
Yeah, I did wonder about that.
But I'm thinking, as it's sort of scheduled to release beginning of November, it can't be that
soon.
Long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only like 3
months. I
months.
reckon within about a month.
Yeah. But hopefully with Comic-Con this weekend, that'll get announced.
Yeah, it'll get announced. Awesome. Okay, so that's pretty much the news. So
yeah.
Once again, we're going to take another little break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about some new releases that are coming out this week, and we'll be unveiling our new feature. Hello and welcome back to the Games4all podcast. We're going to be talking about releases this week. As we've mentioned the past probably 2-3 weeks now, the releases are slowing down. We're not getting so much good stuff coming out.
No, there
less and less to talk about as each week goes on. But we're a couple of months' time we'll get to the point where there's some great shit coming out. So
I have to say, this week, the titles that come out are fairly big to certain demographics.
Oh yeah, true.
They're big,
it's better. It's a better week than last week.
Yeah,
which we only talked about Toy Story 3. So Limbo, which we mentioned about on Xbox Live Arcade, that comes out. It's already out. We've played part of it, so that's worth a download. 1,200 points if you think it's all worth it, which is what, about 10 quid.
Yeah, I recommend if you like it that much and you have the points, then get it. At least try the trial.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I recommend everyone tries the trial.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. That's where I was
going
with that.
Okay, cool. Dragon Quest 9 comes out for the DS.
Which I'm fairly excited about. I will have to pick it up at some time. And Dragon Quest 8 on the PS2, I think, was one of my favourite games of last generation.
Okay, good for you.
Obviously, it's like an RPG. It's drawn by the guy who did Dragon Ball Z. Okay. I can't remember his name. It's Japanese, very hard to pronounce. Okay. But no, I'm fairly excited about that.
Racist. Don't know. Okay, so StarCraft 2 comes out for the PC.
A huge title.
Yeah,
that's been that's been waiting for like a lot of years. I mean, the first StarCraft was amazingly big. Yeah. I played. I didn't own it, unfortunately, even though I wanted to. But I played it a couple of times, and it's kind of like the old Warcraft games, but in space. But cool. Huge sort of like multiplayer aspect, and no, people have been waiting for this. It's going to sell well.
Yeah, I can imagine it selling really stupidly well.
Yeah. So
I mean, that pretty much covers our releases. There's only 3 big releases of this week, and one of them's an arcade downloadable title for the Xbox. So it does show that things are slowing down a hell of a lot. We are at this point in the year where there just isn't that much to talk about, which is why we're adding a new feature to the show. Don't get too excited, it isn't that amazing. But to fill a bit of space where this void of releases is, right, we're going to be taking a topic each week and discussing it. And the best part about this is, hopefully, it would be great if you could email us with suggestions for topics to talk about. We'll run this feature for a little while and see how it goes and see how popular it is. So if you want to email us with a topic to talk about, podcast@games4allpodcast.com. Please send us an email. It'd be great to just get people's feedback on the show and just, let us know if there's something you want us to talk about. For this week, the topic is, what is our favourite sequel to a game? Okay. And what game do we think deserves a sequel?
Okay.
Sequels are pretty tough things when it comes to games.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, most of them don't really live up to the expectations.
Same with all media, really.
Well, yeah, true, yeah.
But you can't. This kind of like
you feel
sprung
more
on me
involved with games because you are really experiencing it. I think.
You mentioned this topic to me earlier. I only got it probably about half an hour, 45 minutes before we started recording the show. Okay. So not had long to think about it, but it's a minefield, really. I mean, sequels. Let you start.
Well, okay. Well, I mentioned one already. I mean, BioShock 2.
Yeah.
It's in no way superior. Like I mentioned before, the first game is still way better, but it does a really good job of it's very close at points in the second game. It's pretty neck and neck as to which one. I mean, I actually thought in points that it was going to exceed, how good I felt the original was.
Yeah.
It never did that, but it came fucking close. Do you know what I mean? So BioShock 2 is, in some ways, the perfect example of how a game sequel should be.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it, I think, really. A lot of people could learn a lot from this. Whereas, say, something like Crackdown 2, which we played recently, which we're still mentioning on the show, didn't quite work as well, in my opinion.
It just didn't feel like it added anything to it.
No. I mean, it did add stuff, but it didn't really feel like you benefited from that.
It kind of added some cool bits, but also took away somewhat from the first one.
I mean,
so it kind of came out sort of fairly...
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot when I first started playing it.
Yeah.
But it's not until you really get into the game and you realise, actually, I'm kind of just doing the same shit over and over again.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have like a little bit more story.
Yeah.
A little bit of variation.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to do in that game.
No.
Doing the same few missions over again. So that's a disappointing sequel.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, favourite sequel to a game, it is tough. But obviously recently, I'm going to go BioShock 2 because I put off playing it and I wasn't that excited about it. But when I finally played it, Jesus, it's amazing.
Okay, now the retro nerd in me is going to ask, of all time, of all previous generations, is there any sequels there that you've thought that have really stuck in your head?
Mortal Kombat 2?
Mortal Kombat 2?
Possibly.
Yeah. Sonic 2?
Yeah, we're pretty much hitting the Mega Drive here. But.
Yeah. But
let me have a think. I mean, I guess some people would say stuff like maybe Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not so fussed about it myself, but, Half-Life 2 for a lot of people, I imagine. Depends, really, on...
Sort of going back to, See, sequels is a hard one. I mean, would you class... I personally wouldn't, but would you class, the Final Fantasies as sequels, even though they're like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9... 10 or whatever, they're not really connected.
Maybe not in those circumstances.
And then, of course, there are prequels.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about them.
No. Okay. So I can say I'm looking forward to Deus Ex, obviously, coming out early part of next year.
Yeah.
Which is a prequel to a game which I think has needed another sequel for a long time.
Okay, here's a blow on the obvious one from this gen, I guess, Gears 2.
Gears 2, yeah.
They've done quite a lot with that. They've added a lot to that game, and...
Yeah.
It was a good sequel.
I think
pretty solid.
Yeah, superior to the first one.
So that's another good example.
Yeah.
I know we're pretty much hitting up current gen stuff. There's not, but that's it. That's it. I mean, with BioShock 2 and Gears 2, I can't think of anything else really, even current gen, that I think would
I would say probably Assassin's Creed 2, but mostly for the wrong reasons. Mostly because it's sort of the game that we wanted the first one to be.
Yeah.
So in that case, it didn't really kind of raise the bar. It kind of just brought the bar up to where it was supposed to be in the first one.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2, I find a little bit controversial, although technically it's a better game.
Yeah.
It's got nicer graphics, it's got a really good story, it's really cool feel. It just feels different to the first one. I mean, the first one was like a shooter RPG, whereas this one feels more shooter with RPG elements tacked on.
Right.
It's still a good game.
Yeah.
It's still an amazing game. I love Mass Effect.
It's an interesting thing to talk about, though. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, sequels are hard. I mean, even in, like you mentioned in other mediums like movies and stuff. So sequels are hard to get right,
Yeah.
and it's rare that they do what they need to do to be successful. But yeah, I mean, I think there's really only a handful of games, especially this generation,
Yeah.
that I would consider to be as good as the original or superior. So,
Oh, I've just thought of my favourite sequel of all time.
okay,
It's a bit retro.
go on then.
Baldur's Gate 2.
Okay.
Superior to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game that even... I can't remember if it's 10 or so years later, I'm still playing it.
Yeah.
That
But
kind of-
that's a pretty good testament to how good the game is.
That, I mean, again, slightly different to the first one, but basically all the mechanics are the same. It just built up on it. It's more characterization, better story. And, you know, it's an old game. There are mods now where you can actually get all the files from the first game, import them into the second engine, and have it running as like one big long game.
Cool.
So
That's really good.
I would say, if you like old games, if you like Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy RPGs and stuff, go Baldur's Gate 2. It really is one of the best games ever.
They'll actually go on the box.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just amazing. It's one of my favourite games.
Okay, well let's go to the second part of this topic, which is what game do you think deserves a sequel?
Ooh.
So I'm going to go and say what game doesn't deserve a sequel is probably Alan Wake,
Yeah.
because I'm disappointed and I don't want to wait another 4 years for another game to come out that isn't going to be.
No.
You know. But then again, if they can promise me that it's going to be like everything my expectations were for the first game and more, I'd maybe be willing for that. I don't know. But what game do you think absolutely deserves a sequel?
Well, this is quite a difficult one for me,
Mm.
because a lot of the games that I really, really like are already getting sequels.
Yeah.
A lot of, especially this year at E3, a lot of the old games that I used to play when I was younger, they're getting sequels and remakes as well. So it's hard to say what deserves one, doesn't get one. I mean, there's one game I played on the PS2 called Beyond Good and Evil. It's a cult classic.
Yeah.
I think that desperately needs a sequel, but apparently it's being made, but we've not heard anything about it for a long time.
It's kept a bit still at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. But that one definitely. Going back to the retro days, talking about Baldur's Gate, there's one other Infinity Engine game called Planescape Torment, which is just so amazing, but it's just sort of, it's getting a bit dated now. See like a sequel or update to that, but then again, it deserves one, but should it have one? I don't know.
I don't either. Don't look at me.
No. No. But
I can. It is very difficult. I don't know why I picked this topic, but it is difficult. But a game that deserves one, but probably isn't going to get one. I mean, it's weird because you think, oh, you look at certain games, you think that wasn't that great, and then it gets a sequel.
yeah.
And then there's games that are really good and they don't, and I'm trying to think of one and I can't. If I'm honest. What game do I think Pure 2 would be great?
Yeah. No, hell yeah. I'll sanctify that. I'll do something with that.
Okay. Pure's a pretty cool game though.
Yeah.
As your girlfriend would at least admit.
Yeah, and nobody wants a sequel more than she does.
So that's I'll go on record as saying that is a game.
You know what I think does deserve a sequel?
What's that?
Mirror's Edge. Now I know it didn't do that great,
Mm,
but it tried something different,
true.
and I think learning from mistakes and everything, if they did a sequel to that and could sort of fix what was wrong with it, then that has the potential to be quite a good game.
Interesting. Well, if you want to, you can contribute what you think is your favourite sequel. and what you think, what game you think deserves a sequel. You can email us your thoughts on that, and we can mention them on next week's show if you do want to email us. You've thought of something to say? Go on then.
Sega Saturn.
Okay.
Panzer Dragoon Vi.
Oh yeah.
Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome games. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah. Okay, so like I said, you can get involved with the show. Please feel free to get involved with the show. Email us if you just want to talk. Send us an email. Generally, just talking about what games you enjoyed playing. Join in with this topic if you want. Let us know what your favourite sequel to a game is, or what game you think deserves a sequel, or just, I don't know, email us with some thoughts about the show if you like it or hate it or whatever. We just want to hear from you. That'd be cool. That email address again is podcast@games4allpodcast.com. Please check out the website. It's www.games4allpodcast.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter, which is twitter.com/games4all.
Indeed. Well done.
Hey.
We're also on Facebook, and we're all over the place, really. I mean, you know, all you got to do is just Google Games for All podcast and get a ton of pages come up. So we're really happy with our listenership and our subscribers. We're really happy with the amount of people that are downloading the show.
And we thank you all.
Absolutely. It's fucking amazing. We just wish that you'd maybe just either write a review on iTunes or email us. Those are the two things that we'd absolutely love.
Talk to us. We drive each other nuts. We need new people to talk to.
Indeed. So please, we're going to run another topic again next week to talk about at the end of the show.
Is it my turn to think of one?
If you like.
I'll have a go.
Okay. Yeah, please feel free to offer suggestions for topics. If there's things you want us to talk about at the end of the show, go for it. Go nuts. Just send us emails and let us know what you want us to talk about. Because I said ages ago, this is your show too. We think up the shit to talk about every week. We pick the news. We pick all this stuff. We write out the show notes, and But to have other people's input, to have our listeners' input, would be absolutely amazing, and would totally make the show better, I think.
Yeah. We want the show to be the best it can be for you, the listener.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, just get involved. Just email us or write an iTunes review. That'd be fantastic. Anything like that. Just try and communicate with us, please. And hopefully it'll work in our favour, and we can make a better show for you guys to download every week. So thanks very much for listening, and this is the end of episode 8.
And we'll see you all next week.
See you all next week. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.